and welcome to the Gigantic Community Council number 2 for the 29th of September 2014. Tim is unavailable at the moment. He is feeling ill will and under the weather, so we wish him many happy recoveries, and we do hope that he gets better as soon as possible. And this week's topics are going to be some really intriguing ones. We're going to be talking about what makes a good building block for the community and how to establish that and how to keep that going. And then we're going to be talking about potential payment models, which is something that we've talked about a lot just over Twitter, IRC, and Reddit. Then we're going to be talking about Gigantic as an esport, which is we've also talked about as well. So I'd like to introduce Locksmith, Kennedy, and Malcor for this week, having a little bit lighter kind of co-host-ish. And if you guys want to get in part of the council, let me know over via Twitter at Bazil, and I will gladly share the info with you, and you can come on in and voice your opinion on our discussion. Also, make sure to participate in chat. Also, we do have people in the IRC ready to grab your questions. And a couple of ground rules we're going to go over here. We do know that Gigantic right now is currently in the alpha, and there is an NDA. So if anyone in our panel of panelists, sure, that sounds right, is in the alpha, we do ask that you do not break NDA and respect Motiga's trust that they have bestowed upon you. Also, speaking of Motiga, there are going to be Motigians, I love that word, listening in to the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight. And hopefully, if they have the time, they will be participating in the chat and able to answer some of your questions. Of course, not all of them, but they are very, very busy working on their game. So we do enjoy them taking the time out of their busy schedule to listen. And how is everyone? So I just realized I've been talking in TeamSpeak and not unmuting my mic. So how's everyone doing?
Ah, okay.
See, I knew this was happening. I sent him a message just for that.
So how is everyone doing?
Doing well.
That's good. That's good. So you guys know the rules. If you're in the alpha, don't break NDA. So I just want to cover that one more time. And I guess the first topic I want to go over is the building blocks and what makes a solid community. So Locksmith, I think we'll start with you. What is your opinions on making the good building blocks of a community?
Wow, building blocks. Well, first of all, I think getting people in the community that are positive and are, I guess, like-minded would be really good. And from there, you already have a good crop of people that you could pick admins from to help moderate people and help positively reinforce things that are going on in the community. Like you want to help to promote someone's stream or some videos or something. That's where it's really good to focus on individuals from time to time. Give them some exposure, get people to know about them.
Okay. We're getting some feedback from your side of the TeamSpeak there, Locksmith, kind of like a high-pitched wheeling sound. So if you can figure out what that is for us, let us fix it for us. That'd be great. So, like in terms of admins and that kind of thing, do you think that's an essential part, or do you think that is just for there mainly to kind of make sure the community kind of stays in line?
A bit of both. It is to make sure that people, stay in line, but it is an essential part in that unless you are going to be unless you're going to be following everything that goes on in the community 24/7, then I don't know. That it's simply just a time issue. You need more people to be able to follow the community on a daily basis.
Okay. Does anyone have anything to add to what he said? Kennedy, go ahead if you have anything to add.
I mean, from the what makes a community is definitely a difficult question between with the developers making a community or the community itself. On one level, I feel like the developers have to allow a community to be created, allow them to discuss things, allow them to talk through things. And at its very raw nature, that kind of generally happens. You can't really prevent that. But there has been certain games in the past who have made every effort to squash the community from talking with each other. So I'd almost say like that's something you just can't do as a development company is prevent your community from creating stuff and putting out things. As far as what really makes it, the building blocks from it, it's definitely those core people who are just really enjoy it and they want to put that stuff out there. They want to share with people, and it's not so much a solo, oh, I'm going to make myself better thing, but it's a way to, oh, you like it, you like Gigantic, let's talk about it. And just that start of it, just that very start of, you like Gigantic, well, so do I, let's talk. That's the start of a community in and of itself, and getting those people together and getting them sharing ideas and talking things, that's where your community starts to grow from the ground up.
Okay. And apparently Locksmith has frogs that are just really loud, which I found actually really, really funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I have to ask, are they the Budweiser frogs, or are they just normal singing frogs?
They can't be. Budweiser frogs are deep. These sounds like at least alto frogs.
And they definitely couldn't be Budweiser frogs. I'm in Jamaica. They won't be up here.
Oh, that's cool. You guys have like the best coffee on earth, by the way, so cheers.
Yeah, man. You get to drink it on a daily basis for not a absolutely ridiculous price.
You know what? I can respect that. All right, so Malchior, go ahead with your thoughts on building the community and how we can just establish a good, solid building block.
Just a sec. Let me turn down my music. I don't want to blow y'all's ears out.
Well, we can't hear it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yes. All right. Good. To be an opening member in any kind of gaming community, it takes like 3 things, at least. A strong passion for the game, which usually, if you're in an early community, you definitely have. An open mind, because there are going to be people who want to make the community probably in a way that you don't agree with. Or there are going to be people that gasp, like a part of the game that you don't.
Oh my gosh, shocker!
How
And
dare
then
you?
with that open mind, you gotta have a level head.
Yeah.
You got to be able to constructively give your arguments and give your opinions, all for the purpose of bettering the game. Not bettering your position, not bettering your opinions, but bettering the structure of the game as a whole and bettering the health of the game community as a whole.
That's actually a really, really good point. Go ahead, Locksmith. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I definitely agree and see that last point about people looking out for their own interests all the time. I mean, I've been, heading up GLG for a while, or from the start really, and it's only really been in the last year that we've seen a lot of growth. But with that massive influx of people that we've gotten, you see a lot of posts that are clearly for their own self-interests, and we've had to, crack down on that.
Right. Yeah, I mean the whole self-interest or making, trying to establish your name is something that is okay to do, but in moderation. Especially if you're trying to be, that one person that's trying to do X event, and you're trying to snuff out the other people trying to do another event. This happened a lot in Guild Wars 2, where tournaments would compete with each other, and it kind of overall harmed the community as a whole because there was too much competition and not enough people collaborating with each other and making sure to work together. So it became like this popularity thing. And I think that as a community, we need to snuff that out really, really quick. It's something that is not good, and as everyone else has pointed out, it doesn't help further the community. It just creates little cliques. And let's be honest, we've already all been through high school, at least most of us. I don't want to do that again. I mean, I was the nerdy kid that got beat up a lot, so it's boring.
I want to be clear on that the idea of collaborating and what you said is it's not bad to be competitive and want to raise what you're building up. In fact, that's definitely needed. From a very core point of this competition is needed in order to create better stuff and new things, and you have to strike that balance of when does my competition or my need to build up what I'm doing interfere and cause hardships or downfalls of other groups or the rest of the community in a sense. When does it end up becoming a deteriorating thing as opposed to an uplifting thing? So you always got to think in that perspective of, is what I'm doing going to really just screw over other people? And I think some
That's
of
a
us
really
have
good
seen
point.
that in the
Yeah.
past. Is we were collaborating with people. We had a group going. There were other people that were doing similar stuff to us, and then
Mhm.
one person was all about themselves, and they just came in and just suddenly and all the eyes turned against them. I mean, it didn't even work out for them. But some people take that personality of I want to get myself above and beyond everybody, and they're going to
Yeah.
burn everybody around them. And that's why you have to be careful. You've got to we have to understand competition's a good thing. We need it, but you're not trying to kill all the other competition and kill off everything to where it's just you, because then you
Yeah.
yourself have destabilized the community.
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, I think that's an excellent point. We did have some fresh faces show up. Once again, wanted to wow, words, remind you guys that if you guys are part of the NDA, to please respect and uphold the trust that Motiga has given you. Do any of our new faces have anything to add for the building blocks of the community? Don't be shy.
Well, I mean, in a sense, I think that the community should build on its own, not from the developers itself, like their own forum moderated stuff. I think like how the subreddit group is going about it is pretty good. Other than that, I think that the community should like keep to its own sites, like GG Unleashed. It's
Mhm.
pretty good. Other than that, no.
Okay, well, in that kind of point, in terms of keeping to their own communities, do you feel that that could possibly isolate the community as a whole if everyone's in their own like little separate cliques?
I mean, it could at times, but I mean, for the start of the game, I'd say it wouldn't be too bad. But bring it together as such a alpha stage would be kind of, how do I say, crippling almost.
Okay, so do you think that Reddit is some place where the community as a whole should really kind of focus their attention then?
I'd say it's a mix of voices, but not as a whole, no. I mean, there's a few times when there's good opinions, there's sometimes when there's bad opinions, but I guess it's the community itself. I don't think the developers themselves should derive from there, but maybe their own alpha type of form-based group would be pretty good.
Okay, so what you're saying is the people that do eventually get into alpha and that are in alpha now is you would rather see them start the community than the outsiders? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now my counterpoint to that would be that's good for people who have played the game and initially been able to see how everything functions. But in terms of I think community overall, I think we need people from all aspects because if we have people that just played the game do the whole community leadership thing, then those people might get popular too fast, and there won't be room for others to come in after the game has gone into open beta, closed beta, and then eventually launch. Do you feel that doing that could possibly alienate some of the community members?
I mean, it could possibly alienate them, only if it allows it to. I mean, there's been a few senses where or a few cases where that has happened, but I mean, I don't really see it as a point to isolate members, like new members, but I mean, maybe if old members were to bring in new members, that'd be great as well. Like, maybe able to spotlight them, bring them into the alpha from Reddit or something like that, get the community a little involved with them. That'd be great.
Okay. Does anyone have any counterpoints to what was just said here?
Yeah, one moment. I had
Go ahead, Lark.
I had basically I'm saying give me a minute to form my thoughts. I had what I was going to say in my head, and then I started to listen to what Future was saying again, and it just completely went out the window.
Okay, Mal, go ahead. I saw your light up there.
Yeah, it's interesting. You would expect an alpha community to be the first ones to kind of get the community going, but that's not always the case, and that it definitely doesn't need to be them solely, because that creates kind of a bias, even if it's not their intent. It creates a sense of bias that it might drive out any negative feedback or impressions of the game, and specifically, it kind of creates this opening click if you will,
Okay.
where you have to get into the cool kids club, talk about the game, and in particular, if you're in the cool kids club, now you can't talk about the game.
Right, right. Well, I mean, yeah, and it's something that it's it's really kind of hard to say who really should be the leader of the community. I really think that as a whole, we all should take up that role, no matter if you're an alpha or not. I think that the community as a whole should always be the ones to start something, no matter if you've played the game or if you've not played the game, because that would be like Mal having better stipulation for the community because he got to play at PAX and I haven't played the game yet. So I think that in that kind of sense, that is unfair because for people who are creating content and who are members of the community like Mal, like Kennedy, and all these other people that are very, very prominent in the community, they very well might not actually be in the alpha or have actually played the game. So in a sense, to say all their work is for nothing, I don't think that that's really what a solid building block of the community really is appropriate, in my opinion. Locksmith, go ahead with your gathered thoughts here.
Right. So first of all, on the topic of cliques, that is going to form naturally. I honestly don't think there's anything you can do to prevent that. And that's my observation over many years of being in communities and contributing, being admin, starting one. They always form, and
Sure.
I don't know how to prevent it. All I can say is, you know, all I can say is try not to be exclusive. Try not to be too exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, talk with who you want to talk with. As you know, you have friends that you want to talk with, not a problem. You want to play games with them, but don't exclude people. And that's the most I can do on the subject of cliques forming. For the people, for people who are in alpha or people who are in first, essentially, on the topic of them getting more of a voice and getting more visibility, I think that is inevitable also. And that's just because, you know, they're in, and if they do anything at all, they have, if they're doing anything at all for the community, they have the fact that they have played the game behind them, you know, and whether I'm assuming this would be like after NDA is dropped, so they would be able to talk about the game. So the fact that they can talk about the game and they can say, oh, you know, throughout the whole process, you know, they have a little bit more insight into what's been going on, they're going to get more attention. Now, that doesn't discount the people who haven't been in the game, because they have very interesting and valid opinions too. They may not have played the game, but they have an idea of how they would like the game to be shaped, and I think that should not be ignored.
Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts on that? Because we definitely all are kind of different opinions on this, which is what really makes the kind of community overall really fantastic, is because we are all able to kind of pinpoint our own kind of thoughts on the matter, and I think Motiga's done a good job at making sure that they don't separate people that have played at PAX from people that are just random Redditors or tweeters or IRCers. I mean, I know, me personally, I felt very, you know, like, oh, I was actually at PAX type of feel when I get to talk to the developers on IRC and Reddit and that kind of stuff. So I think that Motiga's done a good job at not singling out a certain person and really kind of making us all feel inclusive. So good job, Motiga. Anyone else have any other points? Kennedy, I see your light. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say on top. I mean, in Lonroom, that's how you say your name. In chat said, well, if they're in the alpha, they've been selected by Motiga for a reason. No question mark. And this is I think this is the thing where we say alpha players have more knowledge, or alpha players may know something.
They're going to have more
Alpha
game
players
knowledge, and that's really going to be
are
it.
not typically alpha players. I shouldn't say typically. Not all alpha players are community-oriented people.
This is true.
In fact, if they're in an actual true alpha test, sometimes they're just good testers at no understanding game balance and systems, or competitive systems in this case of this game. I mean, they may not be there for it because they can grow the community and stuff. So relying on those alpha testers to actually push something forward doesn't always happen, especially with the fact that sometimes they're focused on their alpha testing and they actually start secluding themselves from the community without thinking about it, because they start going with their alpha clique, almost, you can say.
Right.
They talk to them more often than not because they're also afraid to spill the beans or break an NDA or something. And on the flip side of that, the people who are not in the alpha, sometimes their building of the community stems from their hype or their want to be part of this game, and it's actually stronger when they're not in the alpha at that time. And it's not always the case, but for some people it's stronger, and they push for more, and they get out there and they get involved. And so it's saying that relying on the alpha players to do it, I don't say is always the primary way to do it. There's a few in there who might be community oriented. There may be a few not. It just depends on how they are picked and who they are. And in that essence, I don't think that has anything to do other than, hey, in the future, they might be good people to bring in and have an interview with about the game and stuff like that, to bring them in at the future when the game goes public and they're allowed to they're not bound by their NDA anymore. So that's when those people might be good. And on the terms of the clicks, since I actually said clicks, the whole alpha click thing, as I think Locksmith had said, that clicks are going to happen, and it's not the fact of preventing clicks. It's about creating communication between the cliques and having them interact with each other and stuff, having them play games together, host something together, and just if maintaining some sort of communication between the cliques. And then you don't really necessarily have them, you just have different small communities, different nooks.
Is Lonram in here now?
I'm so proud of you guys.
That's funny. Okay, so one last question about the community, and then we're going to go into the other two topics. Nai Obora, I believe that's how you said the name, asked, how much does an NDA hinder the community building? And I'd like to ask Lonram to actually answer this one, since he just popped in.
Well, I agree with, I guess it would probably be your chat, and yeah, it doesn't prevent a community from being built. It's going to prevent websites from being fully featured and giving guides and stuff like that, but it doesn't keep a community from being developed and the infrastructure made. Some of it isn't going to be fleshed out completely, because for a lot of people, they're not going to be interested. They're gonna look at Gigantic and be like, that game looks cool, but since I can't play it and I can't learn anything about it, and I've got very limited, gameplay and stuff like that, the population isn't going to be there. You're not going to have the big growth. Look at WildStar, for instance, because it's the biggest one I can think of off the top of my head.
Yep.
That had a long build-up, that had a lot of NDA, and there wasn't a lot that you could see of it. And so there was this, this build, this small community that was really hyped for it, and people were getting ready for it. And all of a sudden the NDA whipped off, and all of a sudden, kaboom! It just grew.
Right.
And all of a sudden you had some websites that had already existed that were pre-alpha, or pre-NDA, I guess I should say, and they were already established, and so they grew. But then there are other ones who are like, oh crap, check this thing out, and they created a website devoted to that, and it grew.
Right.
So you're always going to have that, but it's going to limit the scope of the community, but it's not going to actually hinder any of the community building. I think is the best way to say that.
That's actually very, very well put. I don't think that anyone will disagree with that. So we're going to move on, because we are short on time. So if you have any thoughts or other comments, we will be starting a Reddit thread as well once the VOD goes up, and we can all share more opinions and everything on each of the topics. So the next topic I want to go over real quickly, because it's not a huge topic right now. 1 second, Tim. I'll get you in a second. So the next topic I want to go over is the payment model. And who wants to start off with the payment model? Because there's tons of different ways they can do this, and we've had a lot of different opinions and things that we can actually go by. So who wants to take this by the throat?
I can start up.
All right, Locksmith, go.
Now, as a perpetually broke gamer, I can say I'd love for everything to be free.
Right.
Being really realistic though, I know that the company has to pay for the game somehow, and I would I would like if they took an approach, I guess, somewhere in between, or Smite is a good starting point for the approach.
Yeah.
But yeah, like having like basically a box price where you get everything for the game, all the characters or whatever it is they release, would be nice. And then, if they want extra money after that, they have their skins that they can release, and also packs, whatever it is that's cosmetic that they can include. I'd love it if they even went a step further and they said, we don't have a box price, but we're gonna make all the heroes free, a la Dota. But
Right.
then they still have things in there for you to pay for, and that is a bit of a crazy model. That is a model for a company that already has a lot of money behind it. But if that is something that they can look at and it's even feasible a little bit, it'd be really nice if they could do that. But whatever model they go with, I'm sure I'm going to enjoy the game.
Yeah. Now, I mean, in terms of the payment model, Locke, do you think that they'll be able to sustain themselves if they do the Dota route? Because I personally think that doing the Smite route might be better for them, at least initially. Have the, hero pack or whatever be like, $30 to $60, and you get all this cool stuff plus everything else that comes out in the future. Do you think that that would be a better way to start rather than just having everything for free right off the bat?
Well, it does give them some upfront money. They don't have to worry so much about keeping everything up and running if they have, a box price for the game. But I mean, as I said, if it's feasible, if I don't know, maybe they have some big investors in the background that can
Surprise! Bill
allow
Gates
them
sponsors Gigantic.
Come on, investors.
that can allow the company to run with all the heroes available. I think that everybody would absolutely love that. But
Okay.
it's definitely about what is realistic.
So they've already announced, and good evening, everybody.
Hi, Tim.
Hey, sorry, I'm feeling like crap tonight, but they've already announced their funding, and they've, so if you do a quick Google search on Motiga's funding, they already have some really big named investors, while not necessarily big on American soil. NetEase, Smilegate, and NeoWiz. They've come out and said that those are their investors, so they have a lot of capital to work with to build a game to start. The question is what kind of revenue stream do they look at, and what becomes worth a worthy payment model? Do you adopt something that's been done but not necessarily proven because people don't release numbers?
Right.
Or do you risk a new business model? Obviously, the biggest speculation, I think, is skins. Hey, we're going to have skins. They're going to sell skins. I'm going to buy skins. I'm going to buy heroes. But, what if in a crazy world they decided, instead of doing that, to sell map packs or game modes or things like that? And I'm not speaking from any foreknowledge or anything like that, but just simply they're trying to step away from what we consider the norm as it is in the MOBA genre, right? So I think it would be a safe assumption to think that they're going to at least bend the norm a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I mean, like, map packs would be kind of silly, but I definitely get what you're saying.
Call of Duty does it.
Call of Duty does it, but we don't like Call of Duty, so it's okay.
But
Well,
is that any
actually,
less a MOBA than
I want
Gigantic?
to say why it's not a good idea though. And Call of Duty, Battlefield, which any of those games that release map packs create a very destructive environment for the community. If you don't buy that map pack, you can no longer play with those people. You are
Very
no
true.
longer part of the pool. You are no longer getting your best queuing opportunity to get matchmaked the best way. All because
sure, you split the
of
community.
that thing. You split the community greatly. Everyone wants to play the new maps. Nobody wants to play the old ones. But if you don't spend the money on new ones, you basically just might as well quit the game. And that's
Right,
what
and
ends up happening with a lot of shooters and stuff. Is people
Yeah.
just quit when they can't play anymore.
But I mean, it's they've already said that they plan it to be, I think something about as free to play as possible. What that necessarily means, we'll see. But maybe it's maybe they do follow the Smite path, or maybe they follow I don't know, where they give us money for playing. I don't.
Maybe
Do that,
Which I'm-
Motiga. I'm
I'm
okay
okay
with
with
that.
maybe this
Knucklehead,
is going to be the first MOBA with a subscription that
Jeez, that'd
the
be
subscribers get special features, but everything is essentially open to everyone.
I'd be okay with that, in all
Mhm.
honesty. If it was like $5 a month or something, sure, why not? I mean,
Well-
I don't see the harm in that.
One thing that had been done previously, and I'm gonna, date myself here, but Diablo,
Mhm.
and I remember it for sure in Diablo, and I'm fairly sure it was in Warcraft 3, but they had ads on their launcher. I don't know if any of you guys remember
That's
that.
right,
Some of
they did.
a lot of it was ads for their own products, and Blizzard products and stuff like that. But occasionally there was some other stuff in there. I am 100% okay with that, as long as they're, it's just simple, flashy, but not like epileptic, and not no sound involved, but just ads. It's okay to do ads.
So would you be okay with the map having a billboard on it, and you're playing the game? There's an ad sitting on that billboard while you're playing.
I don't care.
That might be a bit. That might be a bit far. Like Anarchy Online.
As long as it's GG Unleashed banner, I'm okay with that.
I mean,
Well,
oh,
actually, speaking of
yeah.
that, Darius, there's a game. It was Face of Mankind. Actually, I don't know if anybody ever heard of that game, but regardless, what they did is they created a payment model where people could actually pay real world money, and they sent in their video ad or their whatever, or just flat out image ad that played into the game. Now, it was a very role play centric game, and the ads had to deal with like your corporation or whatever organization you were running and stuff like that, or business in the game. But regardless, people were able to put out their own ads out there for their community,
Mhm.
and that
Project
people could run
Infinity did
into.
the same thing.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind ads like during like the loading screen.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be too bad. Like say like you're queuing up or something, and it's like you have to watch like a 5-second video or 10-second video while you're loading.
No.
And see,
No videos.
Videos are a problem because then you put a burden on people loading up a video and stuff like that, and then you have issues of, well, my video didn't load very fast because, so now I'm loading in late, or everybody else has to wait and be delayed. Just do it in the launcher. I mean, enough people are going to be sitting there to queue up, waiting up, even, at the selection screen, for League, you have a whole lot of space there that's going on. And once you've, even if you're doing the draft pick, that takes what, a minute, two, and they can just put up one single banner there that has 10 guaranteed views because you got 5-on-5 for over a minute, and so right there, that's decent ad revenue. Multiply that by however many matches in however many days,
A lot.
right, and it'll add up very quickly, and it's very easy to do ad supported, and you don't have to worry about ad block. And
Right.
throw in your subscription model, and you get some bonus stuff, and you don't have ads. Boom, done. And just like that, you've got a decent ad revenue stream, and advertisers would jump on that because it's guaranteed that they're not going to lose a lot of views. They probably won't have very many click-throughs because nobody's going to click on an ad while they're getting ready to jump into a game, but I mean, that's an easy way to get logos in people's faces and stuff like that. I need to think about that.
Or I mean, or we can do something like Dota 2 does. Is they have the banner system, and they have at your base and at the spawning location, you can put your team banner there. You can put your team banner with all their sponsors and stuff. I mean, hell, EG's freaking banner has like 20,000 different logos on it. So I mean, I think that. Ads itself really isn't that big of a problem or a big deal in my opinion, because I mean, Lon, you actually bring up a really good point because that was all over games in the '90s. I mean, that was just you're at a loading screen, bam, there's an ad that's in this small, like maybe 100 by 100 box, but it rotates every 30 seconds to another ad and then another ad. I mean, Blizzard's launcher did this all the time with Warcraft 3, and after a while, you just like. I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it. It's like, oh yeah, there were ads on that, wasn't there? You just kind of you don't even think about it. So
Yep, they were unobtrusive.
Yep.
And that's
But
the big thing.
here's the thing. I don't know how many of you have worked with ads, but I mean, I've worked with the ad revenue and looked at it and seen stuff, and the revenue that you get from ads nowadays is so minuscule. You've got to have thousands upon thousands of it, and it's got to include click-through rates and stuff, which isn't going to be happening. I mean, the possibility of ads really does not provide them much of anything. In fact, it might actually hurt them more than it actually bring in anything for them. The only way the ads are going to be beneficial for a funding standpoint is if they got super popular in the esports scene and stuff like that, and they're actually selling advertisement space there in that sense, and those big companies were paying for advertisement space on that in that sense. But if they went through just regular ad means with ad companies and stuff, it's not enough to
well, that's
really
what Blizzard
bring
did
them in.
anyway. Was they had their servers by AT&T, so there was an ad up there. I think at one point they had like their tournament ads and stuff from like Intel and Dell and gosh, Dell. That's
There
'90s.
you go.
Yeah, Packard Bell.
Packard Bell and then Gateway. Those are great companies.
Compact. I think
CompuServe.
I have a T-shirt from Compact. I think still.
Oh, that's awesome. Anyone else have anything to add on the payment models real quick before we talk about esports?
The only thing,
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead, man.
you go ahead.
All right. Well, the only thing I would say is to stay away from, and nobody mentioned in here as a possibly wanted model, is obviously the League of Legends model at this point in time. The unlock everything basically with money. You have to buy everything.
$30 skins.
And,
Derp.
and it's not this. It's not that the model itself is a horrible model. It's the situation that the game is in, where that model exists in League of Legends, and people who have been playing League of Legends for years have spent tons of money into it, and they're not going to look at another game. And while they may not be trying to grab the League of Legends crowd, there's still a portion of the crowd who they could potentially have as a player base and could potentially spend money elsewhere, but they're less likely to even bother with it if they look at it and go, I got to do the same thing I've done in this game, and I've got to spend all that money again, and that scares people away. It's just like WoW. People who have played WoW for a long time, they're afraid to get other MMOs just because their community and the people they've played with, they've spent so much time on their characters in WoW, they just want to go back to it. And the same thing will happen with League of Legends. It's a PvP game, and it's similar enough, regardless of if they're MOBA or not, or whatever we call it. They're similar enough in that PvP experience of 5v5 that people sometimes will just be afraid to have to move to another game they got to spend a lot of money in. That's just from their mindset point.
Well, that's the same thing with like games like Dawn Gate or other games that try and copy the League of Legends model to, rake in those bucks. And it's just like, well, why would I spend money on your game when I've already invested $300+ into League of Legends? I mean, there's like, to me, I mean, it's just there really is no point. But go ahead, Tim.
The question comes down to this, and at the root of this whole thing, whatever they end up doing, let's say they adopt a Smite-esque payment model. Are we okay with that as a community? Are we willing to invest in that sort of a model? Because at the end of the day, whatever model they decide to go with, we're the ones that have to determine for ourselves if it's worth our money.
Correct. Fresh Rind, I know that you had wanted to speak, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'd actually like. Have you seen the game Arcade? I think it's called Arcade.
Arcade, yeah.
They have like they have like the founder pack going on where you can like, put so much down and you get some in-game stuff and you pledge money to the company or to the game itself. I wouldn't mind Gigantic doing something with that, like beta access maybe, or just some extra skins for the founders or something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Now the only
Well, that's more of a perk for those are a lot of games have done that. Arcade being a primary example. I think even Smite, if you got in early, you got something.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think as far as the founder packs goes, I'm always going to be against those personally because there's been so many games that have just completely botched and charge $150 for founder packs. I mean, if we look at Firefall, for example, that game did not do well. I mean, there's a new Warhammer 40K MMO coming out, and one of their founder packs is $500. $500, and the game's still in like early test alpha, where there's like the demo at PAX was like non-textured stuff. I mean, and I don't feel that a founders pack for a game that consistently brings out new content, and we either going to have to pay for it, pay for skins and that kind of stuff, really deserves to have founder packs. But again, that's just my personal opinion.
Look at War Z.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
If I may.
founders
Go ahead,
packs
yes, go
are
ahead.
founders
Speaking
packs,
as a... Oops, sorry.
founders packs. I think I'm not a fan of them either. Only in the sense that it's essentially like the Smite model, but they're going to give you a few extra perks, as I think Darius said, but for like a crap load more money. So they're going to do the same thing that Smite is going to do, or not the same thing, but they're going to ask for some amount of money for something, but it's going to be a lot more than you would usually spend on
Yes.
a game or something in game. So you're really, it's not about the perks that you're paying for at that point in time. You're paying for, you're supporting the company essentially. Because you're not going to be spending $150 for access to the game. Like if you won't be spending $150 for the box price for a game plus a couple extra digital stuff.
Mhm.
It doesn't happen usually.
MXC363, I know you had something to say, so please go ahead.
All right, so speaking as one of those guys who did get the Founders Pack for Firefall, like way back when it was early on, I got like the $100 one for a bit cheaper. But one thing I noticed, especially about my fellow founders, I guess, because like I bought it because I really believed in the game. I thought it had a lot of promise, and I thought it could go far.
A lot of us did, man.
But
A lot of us did, yeah.
That's where we were at the time.
Yep.
But I noticed that a lot of the people who did get the Founders Pack, they got entitled as shit.
Yes, they did.
They got toxic. They got disappointed as all hell, and they felt like the company owed them something, that they owed them that money, and it was horrible for the community. I think not the act of having a founder pack themselves, but the attitude that was adopted afterwards.
That happened in
But I
arcades
think that
too,
attitude follows everyone.
Yeah, no,
Any
it
title.
does. Yeah, no, you're right, Tim.
One quick point.
Sure, go ahead, Lara.
You said that the company owes them something, and the company does owe them something. They paid $100. The company owes them fun. That's what
Right.
the company owes them.
Yeah.
Now, see, this is where I'm gonna have to disagree.
Oh
The
man.
company. See now, and this is something that my wife and I go on and on about because entitled gamers are a big problem. PC gamers were probably the worst because we want our super duper game, and we're asking developers to release it on a system that makes it very easy to pirate.
Yeah.
So then piracy, that's a whole other thing. But the problem is you are paying them in advance for an unreleased game that they're still developing. You have given them that money for the product unseen. This is that whole buyer beware phrasing
Yep.
that pops up. So they're the
You're
ones
buying
making...
a lottery ticket.
Yeah, pretty
Right.
much. Well, I mean,
You're-
yeah,
pretty
it's the same
much.
with Kickstarter and all this other stuff. I mean, you got to be careful because I mean,
Right.
look at I believe it was the Augscast game where they kickstarted it and it didn't go anywhere, and people were upset because they're not going to get their money back, and they're like, well, we've spent all your money already. It just didn't happen. So
Yep.
I think that's an excellent point, and it's just be wary of that kind of stuff. And I mean, I'm there's no way that Gigantic is going to have a founders pack because, I mean, if they do, then I personally will trust Motiga enough to buy that founders pack, mainly because of just their incredible honesty just throughout the entire process that I've been involved with the community. And I don't think anyone will disagree that they've probably been more open than Carbine has, and that says a lot about their development process. So I mean, like, a founders pack isn't the end of the world, but I generally will not support a game with a founders pack.
Well,
go ahead.
And that's what I was getting to is when you make that purchase, and this applies to pre-orders, like Shadows of Mordor comes out tonight, and I'm sitting waiting on the timer. But when you pre-order this stuff, when you do a Founders Pack, you're giving the money sight unseen, and you have to trust the developers to actually release the game that you want.
Mhm.
They have no requirement to do so.
Correct.
They're going to release the game that they're going to make with the investment that they have in the time that they have to do it. Point in case, let's take our eyes over to the big daddy of Founders Packs, freaking Star Citizen, where I have put $120 something into it. I'll admit it, but that's because Chris Roberts, absolutely, I'm behind that 100%.
Yeah.
The staff that he's got, I can believe in that. But I've given them my money, but
It
Firefall,
very well
for
could
instance,
fail. I mean,
Exactly.
it's a chance you take. So
Right. So yeah.
All right, cool. Well,
I gave my money to Richard Garriott before they even announced Soda, before I knew
Ugh.
what it was. I was, I know Richard though. He's an awesome guy, and like he
What
started me into the Shroud of the Avatar.
what is that?
You and I aren't friends right now. But I think there's an interesting paradigm because, and I know you want to talk about esports, Baz, and I know it's
No,
but
it's fine.
this is a really solid topic.
Yeah, it's awesome. Keep going.
So we may have to postpone esports until next
No!
channel.
Guys, you're
We'll
killing
drag it
me.
out as long as we can because it's
4.5 months down the road, we finally get to the topic.
I still want to get back to the fact that Baz doesn't know who Lord British is.
Yeah, well, we're just gonna have to.
I was
That'll be
sheltered as a child. I'm sorry.
If he wasn't streaming right now, I would kick him from here.
The
But
power.
so this whole thing, this whole sense of entitlement that you mentioned, Lauren, there is a degree of entitlement because of things like past experience. You play an MMO, you're paying them $15 a month.
Mhm.
You feel entitled. That doesn't stop there. Not because you are cognizant of it, but because that's the conditioning that you've become. You've become conditioned to feeling entitled. So regardless of when you give your money or how you give your money, there's always going to be a degree of entitlement. Now, Shadows of Mordor is the only game that I've been looking forward to in a very long time.
Wow.
And so I am absolutely with you. It could be the worst game ever, but I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it. But
It could be an Assassin's Creed clone, and he'll still enjoy the hell out of it.
well, I love Assassin's Creed, but
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not a problem.
right, it's just with Lord of the Rings and orcs. But
Yeah.
there is a sense of entitlement. There's always going to be. What the difference between the entitled community and the toxic community? It's a very thin line.
Right.
So, as people in this community who are helping to flourish that and really nurture the community, because something that I will say until the end of time that I heard from Troy once, and it just resounded: a game does not make the community; a community makes the game.
Amen to that.
And so, do we foster the entitlement, or do we foster the toxicity? Because one of those two are going to win out, regardless of if we wanted to.
I think entitlement is easier to control rather than toxicity, in my
Agreed.
personal opinion. Because, I mean, if someone's entitled, you can just mute them because they're being an asshole. If someone's toxic, well, then you have to go through the whole process of trying to get them banned and having to deal with them in another game, possibly.
See what I did there?
Yeah, you did. You completely just, went around, and that's okay.
I just muted you for a second.
Well, it doesn't matter because everyone on the stream can still hear me. So, in your face.
Oh, damn it.
Still have the power right here. See? What did you learn? Don't be sick. Exactly. So, I mean, in terms of the way that we look at the community as a whole and Founders Packs being that entitled, and it also kind of brings up something that the developers are also responsible still to make a game that is worth that Founder Pack. I think it's unfair to say that they're not responsible or I guess entitled to actually make the game that you want, because obviously you're not going to like everything about the game, but I think that if a founder pack is there, then the developers do have that responsibility to not come up with a crap game. And I think that happens a lot, more often than not. And also, I think one topic we might have overlooked is the items in founder packs need to be worth X amount of dollars.
May I step in?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that I'd like to point out from that is actually, if you put a dollar sign on the stuff in your founder pack, like especially if the devs consider the value of what they're giving you with the pack is more than the dollar amount that they're taking from you, then they sometimes will fall into the trap of thinking, well, we gave them more than their money's worth. Job done. We don't have to worry about this anymore. And that's where the entitlement goes. Like, no, we want more than this. This is nothing. We expect better from you.
Right.
We want more from you.
That's actually a very good point. Do you guys feel that the whole payment model, and then being tied into possibly, how founder packs kind of elevate that entitled community, do you think that a payment model also kind of promotes entitledness? Like, well, I grinded more, so I'm better than you. Or I spent more money on the game, therefore my skill level is better, or whatever you want to, however you want to phrase that.
Well, I don't think those are mutually inclusive of each other.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think one promotes the other at all. If for someone it does, then I think that's just silly.
I think you got an individual basis on that, really. And I don't think the model really has any direct effect. It's just more of a personality thing. Some people are like, well, I just want everything to be flat out fair and even from the beginning, and I don't want to have to worry about it. Or if I can pay just to get to the end game, let me do that. Or that person's like, well, you're only good if you've grinded out from the levels 1 and did everything like I did. And that's each an individual thing, and I'm not sure the payment model directly affects that. Where you might get a direct comparison, in fact, is people who are the subscription model versus free-to-play model people and stuff like that. Well, subscription's better, and that means I just have everything, and that will create a different mentality between people.
Interesting. Anybody else on the payment or any other topics?
Take my money.
Shut up and take my money. Well,
Take my money.
We have about 8 minutes left, so we're not going to be able to talk about esports again. I think Tim's doing this on purpose here. He comes back. He comes back just as we were about to switch topics. He's like, "Hey guys, hold on. Well, let's keep talking about this." But no.
Well, and that's on me, though. I shouldn't have.
No, you're okay, bud. I'm just joshing you.
Well, I don't know who Josh is, but because this topic is something I don't think we're going to be done talking about.
Well, no, of course not.
One event.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest things is, as a community and as a group of people who are actively advocates for the game, is don't promote negativity. And this is something that I've seen pop up in some Reddit threads and some conversations. Is there may be things about the game that you don't like, but again, it's both the company and the game are in alpha.
Yes.
It's still a work in progress.
Way to go.
Right. So if you don't feel like your voice is heard, or if you feel like you're just a squeak in the bucket, don't. And I can tell you this from getting to know Motiga, and Patrick said it. These guys are listening. They're here. They're going to listen to this. They're going to review this. These conversations, not just this show, but they look at Twitter. They look at Twitch. They look at Reddit, and they want to know our opinion, because at the end of the day, we are the early adopters of Gigantic, right? We're here first.
Yep. Now, I mean, it is as far as being early adopters, quote unquote, and it sounds kind of weird, but it's true. Do you guys think that we have the responsibility to make sure the community goes in the right direction, or do we just need to help nudge it in the right direction rather than trying to pull it by the reins? Someone else other than Tim.
Throw that question at me again.
Okay, so as the people that
Are we responsible to make sure that the community goes right?
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, and this is in a Nook thing, at least an internal monologue for us. is gamers are the ones who create the communities, and there's no super duper community manager. Much as we love Troy and Allie, they cannot be everywhere. They
Right.
cannot be in every game chat. They can't be on every fan site at all times. And so if we're the ones who let that community, devolve, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. They can, developers can create tools and products and features that help weed some of that stuff out. And Riot's doing it recently. If you're a toxic player, you can't play ranked. Okay, that punishes them a little bit, but it's still at the end of the day, that those people are still playing because they can't get rid of them.
Right.
They shouldn't need to get rid of them because that's how they're going to make their money. Even toxic players are spending money.
It's
So
true.
at the end of
It's
the
very true.
day, we have to be the ones who say, "Hey, that's not cool here."
Okay, so in terms of that, building on that question, how can we do that as a community without sounding like complete and total assholes? But I mean, sometimes that is necessary, but in order to promote non-negativity, we have to be kind and professional about it. So how can we, as a community, whether it's on Reddit, Twitter, IRC, etc., how can we promote non-toxicity and silence and get rid of the toxic and elitist wannabe players in the community?
You ignore them completely.
I was going to say, I'll let somebody else speak
Don't
up.
get on the
I don't
drama
know, man.
day.
Now,
If you
see,
ignore the trolls, they only shout louder.
right?
And eventually their voice gets hoarse.
Yeah.
Well,
No, because then
and-
everybody else tries to shout over top of them, and
Right.
that can lead to the downfall.
right. And I will straight up pull a biblical passage out. I'm not going to quote it, but I know that, and no,
And you will know that my name is the Lord when I
Thunder crackles in the background.
right. Well,
There you go.
actually, it's the whole idea is if somebody's doing something, you pull them aside and speak to them one-on-one. Hey, not cool. Let's not do that.
Right.
Okay, that didn't work. Okay, let's get a couple people together. All right, dude, you got to stop this. Okay, that's not working. All right, in front of everybody, you need to stop this or you're out. Free strike rule. Start it at a small personal level. Just one gamer to another. Hey, man, don't act like that. Don't be a troll. Don't.
But who
don't
are
be
you
so
to tell
toxic.
me how to act?
It should start at a buddy. It should start at a friend.
Yeah, but the problem there is you have a group of buddies who are the same group of people.
Right.
The thing is that, and I speak from experience, and when you have these people, you don't fuel their fire. You let them talk until they get hoarse, and if it gets out of hand, if it becomes a riot, you come in with a riot shield, aka a banhammer, and let them sit down for a little bit and realize that, hey, you're not going to stand for it. You're not going to address it because what's the old Quidditch? It's a sport. What's the old thing that people say? I can't think of the word.
Adage?
Adage. Don't feed the troll.
Yeah.
Well, and here's where I slightly
Could be
disagree with
Quidditch.
that. And, but when looking at this, we're looking at this as a black and white thing, and let's be clear, there's actually in terms of the community and community management, from what I looked at, and I've been reading articles on it and stuff and keeping up on it. But you basically have 3 different types of trolls that exist out there. And your first troll type that we actually come across, and we'll come across very early, is those scorned fans. There's people who have felt like the loyalty was lost or something went completely opposite what they thought, or they felt like they got hurt and stuff. And they're going to be trolling eventually, but they're not. They're a completely different type of troll, and the fact that they feel like they've been hurt. And you have to recognize them and be able to recognize those people who are leaders in the community, have to be able to recognize those people and know how to speak to them about what their issue is. And sometimes just talking with them, or sometimes just like looking at ways to make their situation better. And a lot of times the scorn fan thing is only going to be able to be remedied by the developers themselves in that sense. The other troll type you have is the soapboxers. And these are people who, they have their opinion and they're going to go into every thread and they're going to go everywhere and they're going to put that opinion there because they want everyone to hear their opinion and they want it talked about.
Oh, those people are
And-
so fun to deal with. It's just like, dude, we
Yeah.
get that X
So,
person is overpowered. Just shut up about it.
With those type of people, you don't invite a debate between them. Like
Right.
they're
God,
they're
no.
looking for a debate. You direct them to more information if that's what they're trying to do. You direct them to more information, and you direct them to the proper place to go to for it. But you don't invite a debate. You don't add in a little debate thing and invite it there.
Right.
And then you have your third type, which is either the scandal mongers, and these are the trolls that I feel like Darius, you are specifically referring to. These are the people who are there for the limelight, to spread bad news, to be a jerk, to get the attention. And yeah, you don't respond to them. You ignore them as
Right.
much as possible. And
Okay.
those people, those are the ones you actually really just ignore.
Okay, well, I think we've had a lot of really good conversations here tonight. I want to thank Locksmith and Fresh Friend, Kennedy, Lorem, Malcor, MXC, and Knucklehead for joining us in the TeamSpeak lobby and expressing their opinions. Also, thank you to the chat. You guys have been awesomely active, and thank you to Motiga as well for coming in and just kind of listening to what we have to say. I know a bunch of nerds are always so fun to listen to, but if you guys want to be a part of the next gigantic community council, this is open to everyone, not just figureheads of the community or people that have a louder voice than some of you might have on the social media presence. There will be a new link to sign up for the next one in the coming days to come. And
It's the same link, actually.
it's gonna be the same link. Okay, so just
Yeah,
go,
it's every 2 weeks,
Every 2
Monday night,
weeks.
9 p.m.
Okay, so basically just go ahead and sign up over on ggunleashed.com. And if you have a website, if you have a community, put that in there and give a description, and Tim will look at everything, and then we'll go from there. But thank you guys for joining. I had a lot of fun, and VOD will be up in the next couple days once we are able to rip it off Twitch and put it onto the YouTubes. So that's it. That's all, guys. God bless. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening. And I just sound out off my YouTube. That's stupid. Oh, well. Bye, guys. See you later.
Ah.
Night.